bienvenue à notre édition spéciale de la boîte à souvenirs.
Hi, welcome to our very special virtual memory box. I'm Lauren, this is Sophie, and we've never introduced ourselves. That's us. If you don't know by now, then so a very special one, a little bittersweet, but
oui.
Yeah.
C'est ça, c'est parce que, c'est, comme Lauren disait, c'est un peu amer sûr, c'est parce que ça sera notre dernière édition virtuelle de la boîte à souvenirs pour cette série, en tout cas.
So that doesn't mean that we're not doing memory box anymore. Just look forward in the future. Maybe it'll be more hands-on now that we're open, a little less virtual. Maybe we're actually ready to slowly get back into a non-virtual world after all this is said and done. So 12 episodes, that's pretty good.
C'est pas pire, une bonne douzaine, ouais.
So we wanted to thank everybody for all the comments, for the people that waited and tuned in every time, every Wednesday. So we have something a little special for you guys.
Oui, c'est ça. On a eu une vraiment belle participation de nos visiteurs en ligne, puis on est très reconnaissant de ça. Merci pour les questions, les photos et tout. Fait qu'on va vous offrir quelque chose de vraiment spécial pour cette édition. Bienvenue à notre collection. On est dans la remise où on trouve tous les objets muséales du musée. En fait, pas tout là, une partie.
Some people wonder where we get our artifacts for this, and some of them did come from cases on display, but like most museums, what you actually see on display is only about, on average, 10% of a museum's collection.
Ouais, c'est ça. En général, quand vous visitez un musée, c'est seulement à peu près 10% de la collection qui est en montre. Le reste, c'est dans les remises. Puis, il y a quand même un roulement. On aime habituellement changer les artefacts pour certaines expositions pour mettre lumière sur certaines parties de notre collection. Fait que c'est ça.
We use them for many purposes. Quite often when we get traveling exhibits, we take the opportunity to dig into our collection and walk up and down the aisles and find things that can supplement and complement exhibits that we have. Sometimes we design exhibits from scratch using our own exhibits, but it's the primary function really of a museum. The mandate is to collect and document and preserve. The fact that we have a place where we show some of them in cases is actually secondary to our actual purpose. So this is part of our purpose. So we'll take a couple of shots down each aisle to kind of show you what we have while kind of talking about it. So.
Oui, c'est ça. Fait que, on a à peu près 15 000 artefacts ou objets muséales dans notre collection. C'est quand même très spécial. Puis comme Lauren disait, ça fait partie de notre mandat principal de conserver la mémoire collective de notre histoire ici à Moncton. Fait qu'on va vous montrer un peu comment ça fonctionne dans la remise. On est ici avec notre rangement mobile. Fait qu'une partie de notre collection est sur étagère roulante comme celle-ci.
So this rolling storage project that we got some funding years and years ago wasn't part of our renovations, but this used to go the whole width of this room. We lost a couple of the units in this room when we had to create an aisleway. We're in the basement, so we need to actually make a passageway into the new basement of the new section. So we transferred a couple of these units as stationary storage over in the other one. So looking down here, you see that there's lots of smaller shelves for flat objects, smaller objects. Each shelf is numbered, each bay is numbered, and each artifact has an accession number. So where it came from, everything's identified. Even the smallest little thimble has a little number on it, so that are we going to our database, if we want to find that artifact, we know what unit, what bay, and what shelf to go and find it.
Puis dans notre base de données, on aime aussi noter quand possible le nom de la personne qui a fait le don, le lien de l'objet avec l'histoire locale, puis comme Lauren disait, où se trouve l'objet puis où le remettre. Fait qu'une fois qu'on sort un objet, il faut savoir où le remettre parce que sinon on perdra nos objets.
So if you look down this side, you see larger objects. We can vary these shelves as much as we want, so you get chairs and ship models and things like that. So we'll roll down the next one and kind of show next.
Ça sauve beaucoup d'espace, comme je sais pas si vous réalisez là, mais c'est tout vraiment bien organisé. Comme vous voyez ici, il y a des étagères même plus petites pour des objets plus plats. Il y a certains rangements qui sont plus espacés, qui permettent pour ranger les plus gros objets aussi.
So what you see here is actually the back end of drawers on the next unit.
L'autre côté.
So that we have things like flat artworks or plans or things like that that are delicate in mylar or something like that.
Des affiches.
So everything from toboggans to skates to all kinds of stuff. This is the back end of those large things. So a lot of chairs and boats and child prams and things like that.
Puis on essaie de garder plus ou moins les objets parmi leurs thématiques aussi. Hein. Si on a plusieurs... par exemple, on a une section de radio, là, on pourrait peut-être vous montrer ça, c'est que de radio. Ou la plupart, en tout cas, tout ensemble.
We don't need... We'll talk with Bridget later, but we don't need any more radios.
On accepte des dons, là, si jamais, pour des objets, des photographies, mais on a assez de radio, OK?
Unless it's built by Marconi or something like that, we're pretty much done with radios. So again, you see drawers all here for flat storage, textiles, delicate things, doilies. We have lots of doilies. Medical stuff, ceramic bedpans and things like that. Yeah, fun stuff. And way down at the end is actually where we keep our building permits going back to 1919.
Pour le musée? Ou pour
For the city. The city's building permits. So when I'm researching buildings, if they're after 1919, I can actually use those books and kind of actually find the date and the building permit to build that building.
Comme vous avez vu dans une de nos boîtes à souvenirs, on a un centre de documentation qui inclut plusieurs photographies et des archives, etc. Mais il y a aussi certains documents qui sont considérés plutôt comme des objets muséales qui font partie de notre collection muséale. Par exemple, des vraiment anciens livres ou des permis de construction de la ville. Fait que quand on vient de faire des recherches, des fois, on fait vraiment appel à la collection comme telle aussi.
It's actually a fun little rivalry between archivists and museum people when it comes to documents. What constitutes an artifact and what constitutes a document or an archival document? To me, they're both the same thing at the same time, but there are purists that say, no, it's an archival document, no, it's an artifact. Yeah, so, yeah.
Ou le maître. Si c'est rendu que ça a besoin beaucoup plus d'attention pour conserver le livre, ben, je peux voir que ça serait pratique de le mettre dans du rangement comme ceci. Si c'est encore dans un état où on pourrait le consulter plus facilement avec des visiteurs ou des chercheurs, ben, je pourrais voir qu'il n'y aurait pas de problème de le mettre dans un centre de documentation. T'sais.
But some of them we photocopy so that we have photocopied versions so that we can actually keep the originals here so that we can flip through them. Yeah.
Oui.
So it's but it's kind of fun. It's one of those things that well, which is it? In my opinion, I'm not trying to be diplomatic. I think that in many cases or most cases they're both. The object itself is an artifact.
Oui.
The content makes it an archival document. So they're kind of both.
Ouais, je suis d'accord. Ouais.
Just a couple more here. We're gonna scoot down. And as you see, the numbers are on the actual side, so that's all part of the online or the digital documentation.
La base de données?
The base de données has, like you said, 15,000-ish objects, artifacts. We will talk about our photo collection. There's 6,000 or 7,000 photos.
Des choses comme ça.
So we have lots of stuff.
Collection de photographies aussi qu'on va vous montrer après. Là.
So again, another shelf with sort of average size storage, but a lot of things per shelf. And like you said, we try to group them together, but they don't have to be. It's just convenient if you're kind of doing a casual kind of review of it, because once you're accessioned it, wherever you put it on the shelf, you have that shelf, that number. But
si on n'a plus de place pour une bouteille, on va le mettre avec ses amis bouteilles. On va le mettre ailleurs.
That's right. So wherever you put it, there's a number, a shelf, a unit that you can do. All kinds of typewriters. So unless Joseph Salter typed, the letter on it, we don't really need it.
Assez dactylo.
Yeah. Medical things and products, old products. I think we've talked about a few of those. So stamps from corporations, corporate seals, things like that from different corporations. all kinds of stuff, ceramic jugs and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So it's fun sometimes just to walk up and down and oh my goodness, I didn't know we had one of those.
La prochaine, c'est ma préférée, je pense. On est rendu à la dernière étagère. Fallait bouger un petit peu les caméras.
It's a lot of storage. It goes on forever. Radios, as far as the eye can see, everything from 1950s and 40 Bakelite to cathedral style to alarm clock radios.
Ouais,
They
ouais.
go all the way in here.
C'était celui-là qu'on avait dans
That's
le...
right, yeah, the cathedral style one they call it. Yeah.
Vous vous en souvenez de cette radio? Je sais pas si vous me voyez, là, mais... Non, une de nos boîtes à souvenirs, fait que c'est ici qu'elle habite, cette radio.
And we have tubes, cameras, we have all kinds of cameras. In fact, we did an exhibit with George Griffin.
Oui, le
And
photographe.
he has a large collection that I think we're going to be going through and getting some of his collection as well. Especially ones that he has medical imaging ones from the city of Moncton Hospital.
Ah, fait qu'il y
so
a un lien direct avec les
exactly, that's key to us taking stuff. Yeah. More cameras, scales, textiles and clothing, so army uniforms and things like that. Hats.
Chapeau.
A lot of hats.
Ouais.
Yeah, old Cub hats, old pith helmets, little tiny baby shoes. Tiny ones.
Wow.
So this is only a section. This was the original. So this was what was here before our big expansion. But stuff was literally packed in the hallways, under stairs because we had no room. We had a lot of large artifacts at central stores in a big caged area.
Ah, fait qu'il y avait des objets qui étaient pas mal.
Oh,
laissés,
yeah.
là.
Yeah,
C'était
yeah.
dans une autre...
We just had no room.
Wow.
And handed to Brenda Orr, our former director, who, when they proposed the museum to save money, they said, "Oh, it's
The
gonna
expansion?
the expansion, yeah, the Transportation Discovery Center. We're gonna put it on a slab, and we're gonna." She said, "No, don't build it unless you're building me a basement." She said, so they did, and as you'll see, it took about a day to fill the extra space with all the extra stuff that was brought over.
C'est une autre salle d'objets. On va
Yeah.
vous montrer ça tout après.
Right on. Let's go right on.
Yes.
Okay. So here we are in our second storage. We call it new storage. It's the one that is underneath the Transportation Discovery Center. And these two units are the same color as where we just left because they're in fact units that were rolling, but we had to remove two of them to make an alleyway to come through when they broke through the wall to make the corridor. So for now they're stationary. Maybe in the future, once we're retired, they'll build a track system here and have some rolling storage in here as well. But for now, we're using it mostly for clothing, textiles, and some new acquisitions and some smaller items here. Over on this side, this is a pallet rack full of things. I mentioned that we had some stuff off-site.
Parce que c'était des gros objets, puis on n'avait pas de place pour les objets ici. Avant qu'on a construit la nouvelle section, comme que Lauren disait, on est dessous le centre de découverte des transports, qui est nouveau, fait qu'on a plus de place.
Yep, but filled it almost immediately. So when all this came, we're talking old wheelchairs, more prams, some machinery, furniture, that kind of thing. They needed space at central stores that we had occupied for years, that it was time to move it over here. So that's part of our storage as well. We have pieces of old City Hall before it became this one. So we have the dais and the some railings, chairs, things like that. So
Tout ça assez bien organisé là. C'est tous des habits, des textiles, puis c'est vraiment bien cordé. Ça vaudrait la peine de comme. Je vais prendre une photo, on va vous montrer ça.
It is. It's kept well organized. There is a lot that is not accessioned yet. We're a busy institution,
Oui.
and really the only person doing it is Bridget Murphy, and we pull her away on other projects all the time. For her to sit down and actually go through accessioning is just sort of that elephant in the room that every museum has, that backlog of accessioning. I mean, it's
ça prend tellement de temps, puis on reçoit des dons, puis c'est une question de plusieurs par année, fait que ça prend, ça prend la concentration aussi. Fait que aussitôt que tu as une autre tâche, ben faut que tu changes tes idées. Puis...
One big example for photos, most of our photos are accessioned, for the most part. Not digitized, but accessioned. And just when you think you get ahead, we received a donation of Triangle Studios commercial negatives. Thousands and thousands of, what are they, 4x6-ish negatives that were done commercial from the 40s, 50s, 60s. Flat boxes. I mean, when are we going to catch up to
un don.
all at once? Thank you. Here's thousands more you have to do it. So things like that happen all the time, and we're grateful, but hard to just sort of keep on top of it. So we've talked about Bridget.
Oui, Brigitte. Est-ce qu'on l'avait?
Come see us, Bridget. You didn't win a prize, sorry.
I wanted to win a prize.
C'est notre collègue Brigitte Murphy, coordonnatrice des collections et du centre de documentation.
Right, so she's the coordinator for collections and our resource room. So deals with all of our collections, resource material for when people come in, and organizes that room that gets used a lot for people doing genealogy and all kinds of research. So Bridget, a couple of questions that people are going to have. We'd like to ask questions beforehand, if we can, if we know what questions are coming up. What do we take, why do we take it, and what don't we take, and why don't we take it? I know it's not absolute, but we have some guidelines.
All right, right off, things we do not take. Pianos.
Pas de piano.
Typewriters.
Ah, c'est ça, les dactylos, vous avez vu, on a plusieurs.
And for the most part, furniture. But if it's a special piece of furniture, we'll take it. Like if Joseph Salter built a sofa, we would take it.
Yes, yeah.
But otherwise, probably not.
D'accord.
So radios. We have so many radios. We have a huge collection, which is great, but we probably have enough of every decade to,
So it would have to be very, very specific for us to veer from that guideline.
Yeah. So in general, I guess, to answer your question, it's something that has to relate to Moncton's history.
C'est ça.
Right.
It has to, if it's a photo, it has to be like a place in Moncton, a person in Moncton. It can just be a family shot, but if you know that who it is in the photo, if we don't know who it is in the photo,
It's a photo of people.
Ouais.
We don't know what it means at that point. Yeah.
Le plus d'informations, le mieux. Surtout quand ça vient à des photos, là, si c'est vraiment ça c'est Monsieur Record, puis sa famille. Ça c'est sûr. Disez-nous, c'était qui Monsieur Record? Ça c'est son frère. Ça c'est.
Right.
Yeah, and like for artifacts, if it's something like from a Moncton store. Or city directories, we love city directories.
Fire insurance plans.
Fire insurance
C'est
plans.
quelque chose qu'on prend des doubles de, parce que c'est des objets, des ressources de recherche qui nous permettent vraiment de faire.
Yeah, for every copy of one of those, fire insurance map, city directory, telephone book, things like that, we can save ones and have one working copy that can be used.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll take doubles of anything in terms of that type of regular use documentation. Yeah.
So that's about it in a nutshell. It has to be Moncton related, has to have a story to it, because that's what we tell in the museum is a story. So an object like, if you don't know anything about it, then it's not something we can use in the museum. And why we have to do that is because you've seen storage. There's only so much room. So we have to be particular about what we take and what we don't.
Puis quand vient le temps en fait, ça s'est déjà arrivé le processus d'aliénation, d'enlever un objet d'une collection. Ça, c'est un processus qui prend beaucoup d'efforts et de temps. Fait on évite ça. Fait que c'est bien beau de dire qu'on a la place, on va enlever des objets pour faire plus de place. C'est pas comme ça que ça fonctionne. Est-ce qu'on a déjà enlevé des objets de notre collection?
We have. We don't do it very often.
No.
It's stuff that we've done a clear out of some stuff, and we also, when we do that process, we think of, okay, so we have the donor form, we know who donated to us. The first step would be to go back to the donor and say, we're thinking of deaccessioning this in our collection, would you like it back? If they do not want it back, then we can also go to other museums and say, like, you know, this is what we have. It's not really within our mandate anymore. Would you like it? So we try the best to get a good home for it. We don't throw things out just willy-nilly.
Yeah, because we do 95% of the objects, they sign a form, donors sign a form, it belongs to the museum. So there's no legal obligation for us to contact them at all. There are industry policies, industry standards that you don't just go, well, we're done with it, we throw it away because we own it. There's an industry standard that you make an effort to get it back to the original donor or what have you. So, but really, legally speaking, unless it's a loan, we don't borrow stuff very often. We borrow stuff for a specific exhibit or for missing a certain piece or something like that.
Yes, for example, like in our heritage collection, we don't have a lot of Acadian artifacts.
Oui, c'est vrai, on les a empruntés du musée acadien.
So, and like in the fire department, we do have a couple helmets on loan. Just, you know, things that we do not have within our collection, we would borrow them, but there's very, very few that we have. It's just, you know,
it's less complicated if you own it,
yeah.
right? Then every couple of years you build an exhibit around a piece, and then that person decides, oh no, I want it back. Well, then you've now emptied out, you now have a void where you built around that exhibit.
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing.
usually just temporary exhibits that we would get loans for.
So we have this big new room, quite full because we also use it to store some of our empty, well, all of our empty cases, stuff that's not accessioned yet. And it looks fairly organized, but really from a museum standard, we think we can do better. But tell us about why we're not rushing to completely redo everything right now.
Well, this is very exciting, or I'm excited about it, I guess.
It's exciting. Yeah, it's good.
A few months ago, I guess in the fall, or just before Christmas, we got accepted to host a reorg project here at Resorgo Place. We were selected as a host venue, and what the purpose of this is they're coming in and they are going to teach people how to reorganize storage spaces. So they're going to have their course here, and Lauren and I will take part in this workshop, so week. And at the end of it, these lovely people will reorganize our space.
Yeah.
So we're very, very happy to have been chosen by the CCI, Canadian Conservation Institute of Canada.
L'Institut de Conservation du
Canada. And what's cool about this is there have been some in the city before where they've gone in and done a reorganization. This, just to be specific, this is a workshop to teach people how to go into museums and do reorg. So it's not just a reorg. This is the high-end stuff. This is teaching. These are people that will then go off and possibly offer this service to other organizations. So we're getting the royal treatment on this.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
Yeah,
tellement bien. Fait que l'espace va être réorganisé, puis ça sera un peu comme du training pour les apprendre comment réorganiser des remises de musée.
Pour être plus efficace avec l'espace. So we need floor space, and there's we don't think there's room. That's part of we don't think there's room, but once you get a dozen or however many experts come in and are going to sit and workshop, what could you do differently or better? All of a sudden, we're going to have more space.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
And it's people from all across Canada. I don't know who it is at the moment. And possibility of some international participants as well. So they're going to come in and look at our space for the first time, and they're going to plan and organize, and we could not be happier to get the opportunity to host this.
On va partager là-dessus sur nos médias sociaux, c'est certain quand viendra le temps. Est-ce que c'est l'année prochaine, 2021? Si tout va bien?
Yeah.
Cool. So we do have other little closet type areas for small breakable storage and things like that. But what we haven't really talked about yet is photos. So we're going to show you how we take care of the many, many, many many photos that we have in our collection. We'll go take a look.
Fait que voilà, maintenant on est rendu à notre collection de photographies spécifiquement.
So those are artifacts. We have other ones, kind of little pockets of them peppered around the museum in different closets and things like that. Sounds like it's unorganized, but they're actually made for that purpose.
Oui.
So now it's our photo collection, and people ask us how many photos we have all the time.
On a plusieurs, des 1000, 7000 à peu près, pour être spécifique.
We haven't done an inventory in a while, but I'm sure that when you include scans that we have, like because we're in the age now where people are sending you scans of originals instead of giving you the original, that it could easily be more than that, especially with the Transportation Discovery Center expansion. We asked for a lot of stuff, so I don't know, 7,000 is a good ballpark. That's a lot of photos.
Puis on a un projet tout de suite de numérisation de nos photos, parce que ici on a les photos comme telles, là, imprimées. Il y a des négatifs aussi, mais c'est ça, on travaille à les numériser de plus en plus.
As much as we can. Every time we scan one because someone's made a request, it goes in sort of a digital database we have so that we don't make the mistake of rescanning over and over. So I scan it big, even if they only want a small one, so that it's for multi-purposes later on. So as you see, it's a vault. It's climate controlled. It's this is where the photos live.
C'est un vrai coffre-fort qui date des années 70 quand le musée a premièrement ouvert. C'est ça?
Yeah.
Est-ce que ça a toujours été pour les photographies?
Yep, that's what it was designed for. So yeah, always for that, and was built with the museum back in the early 70s. So let's pop the handle and take a peek inside.
Oh wow! Et c'est présent?
Yeah. It's a real vault, yeah.
Okay.
So it's the same kind of system as the artifacts.
Okay,
Each unit. So here's unit 1, and there's section A, section B, section C. Each box, C1, C2, C3, C4. Then when you open them up, there's a divider with each one, and it actually has the accession number for each one.
Est-ce qu'on peut l'ouvrir?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So pop one open. So what happens when you're looking around, they're all numbered, and you can just randomly pick a picture out of there if you want, and it doesn't matter.
On va regarder. Oh, wow! Sunnybray train station. Attends.
No, it would be the one in front.
Ah, juste avant. Un désastre, un wreck near Stellarton. Un train wreck.
Wow.
Fait qu'il y a un train qui arrête.
What's the date on it? 1898 is the date on that picture.
1898. Wow! Et ça, c'est vraiment cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. So we have just about every theme. We have pictures of people, places, events. And in the database, we write as much information about the content of the picture in the description.
Okay.
Because you can do a free word search. And if you're looking for some, maybe Babbitt Parlee, the guy that Parlee Beach was named after, one of our mayors, you can actually go in and search Parlee, and it'll give you him, the beach, everything associated with them.
Fait que ça, il y aurait train, il y aurait rail, il y aurait accident.
And like any database, it's only as good as the person inputting the information. So if they weren't thorough, my wife is a library information science master's, so a lot of what she's done in corporate and in government is what kind of buckets do you put this stuff in so that they're common. You don't have 1,000 different buckets to put it in, you pick like 6 and then narrow it down from there. So if the people putting in the information aren't using the same 6 buckets as the next people, train, railway, choo-choo, you know, it depends on what they call it, right?
Choo-choo, locomotive, train, tu sais, faudrait choisir un.
One of the biggest ones, I was looking for information for a project for Tuttle Brothers.
Okay. La maison de funérailles?
That's right, yes. Trying to find pictures, trying to find anything I could, and I had seen pictures of it with it labeled. Went in the database, couldn't find it. I typed turtle.
Y'all might have écrit Tuttles?
Turtle
Almost
Brothers.
every reference to the Tuttle Brothers was Turtle Brothers.
Oh,
So I had to look up the same person or student or intern thought it was turtle and put in turtle, so it kept showing up. So sometimes you miss it, but when you find it, then you do a search for the wrong word, and you go into the record and make all the corrections.
Oui,
Yeah,
ça
so
arrive, ça.
nothing's perfect in research.
Non, non, non. Souvent, I puis E se fait comme...
Absolutely.
K-A-E-I-I-E,
Yep.
puis tu sais, ça change un mot, là.
And sometimes it's like the family name Reed is a pretty big name around here. R-E-E-D, R-E-I-D. Reed's newsstand became R-E-A-D, like as in Reed. So depending on which version they thought they should be using, then you have 3 or 4 different ways of writing a name.
C'est
So
vrai,
yeah.
garder ça en tête. Fait que, ouais, c'est ça. On va retourner ici. Et voilà. Encore une fois, merci beaucoup tout le monde. Ce fut un vrai plaisir de faire les boîtes à souvenirs virtuelles.
it was great. The conversations were great. The amount of information we got from you guys that we didn't know about, absolutely fantastic. We love that it was give and take, and we look forward to more opportunities to share with you sort of in some format or another.
Oui, en fait, il y a un événement spécial qui s'en vient en partenariat avec le Conseil de conservation du patrimoine, Conservation Board, la semaine du patrimoine.
Yeah, we had a few different things. I do some help. I help a little bit with the Heritage Board. They wanted to do doors open again. They wanted to do this, a couple of different things. And thought, well, when are we going to do it all? And somebody said, well, why don't we have a week where all of these things happen and check everything off our bucket list?
Festival du patrimoine.
And then COVID happened.
Ouais.
So almost everything, there will be some virtual doors open.
C'est ça. Notre événement porte ouverte qu'on fait chaque année, on va le faire virtuel cette année.
Yeah. So the virtual content, the online content won't be over. For Memory Box, we're hoping it's going to become a hands-on thing and that you come down and see us here at the museum.
C'est ça, fait que restez à l'affût, puis on vous verra soit en personne ou en ligne dans un autre format. Merci beaucoup.
Thanks. Bye.